United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Barr,
Here.
Giovanini,
Here.
Eckhoff,
Here.
Callis, Lee,
Here.
Hauser,
Here.
Bradshaw,
Here.
Cranford,
Here.
Howard,
Here.
Willie.
Here. Thank you. First meeting of the month. We're obligated to have a meeting of the Civic Center Authority. With no business to come before the authority, we will adjourn that meeting right now and move on to the consent agenda. Might take a few minutes to look that over if you haven't had the opportunity.
So this is basically for one is for the tower.
Yeah,
And we're just referring it to the zoning board.
zoning board, yeah. Is that a motion, Jerry?
Sure.
Motion by Jerry,
Second.
seconded by Barb Howard. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Okay, on the regular agenda, we have a presentation from Liz on wrapping up the rocking at the river.
That was
Fire
a tongue
away.
twister, huh? Okay, Hannah's going to go ahead and switch me over here for our presentation. So I just want to give a really quick recap of how this year's summer concert series went. As you guys all know, we did our first full season in 2019, and we did one concert in 2020, and then 21, 22, 23. So this is our fourth full season, which is pretty exciting. Go ahead and switch over, Hannah. So just as a quick recap, we did take the number down to 7 concerts this year, and we estimated over 1,800 people attended those concerts. We had vendors. We had Kiwanis, which they use as a fundraiser for their scholarship fund. We had Wally's come this year, so that was fun to have a new local business that was there as a food vendor, and then 66 Licks. We also had a variety of different organizations and businesses set up at different concerts. I really like that. I think it adds to the community feel of things that happen there. So I do have those listed there. Heartland Community College Pontiac, they were there one night handing out fans and information. Truth Tabernacle Church, they were there vending. Happy Hedgehog set up. They actually sponsor a lemonade stand that kids can use to then raise funds for whatever. So we had some local girls that are in the dance center competition team, and they raised funds that way. And then Marlin also set up Marlin IELTS Country Financial. Also, we continued our partnership with the Parks and Rec Department. They were there with lawn games. I think, again, that helps. It gives kids something to do. And when they were able, they had the splash pad open late, which I think is fun as well. Go ahead. I did want to go really quick through all the all the sponsorships and the grants that we received for the concert series this year. I know Jim's probably going to talk more as far as financials go, but we had so much community support for these concerts, and I just want to take a minute to recognize this. So our silver sponsors were Kelly Electric, Pontiac Family Eye Care, R&E Dynamics. Our gold sponsors were Dairy Queen, Driscoll, Farnsworth, First Financial, Lion Sullivan, McDonald's, Midwest Dental, Stargreif, and Wright's Furniture. Go ahead, Hannah. Our diamond sponsors, Bank of Pontiac, Heller Motors, Superior Landscaping. And then our platinum sponsors. We had Bolt Home Improvement, Country Financial, Marlin IELTS, Heartland Community College Pontiac, and SoQ. I just want to point out that picture. That was the only concert that got moved in for weather, and it was because it was so hot. It was well over 100 degrees that day, but that was one of the best attended concerts as far as getting moved indoors went, so it was still fun. I got pulled up on stage. They sang me happy birthday. It was a blast. go to the next one. And then this year we were also very, very grateful to receive 3 grants. Once again, we received a grant from the Illinois Community Prairie Foundation. They cover McLean, Livingston, and I think DeWitt counties. And I think this is the, 3rd or 4th time that they've given us support. And then also the Floyd and Alta Burn Trust and the Yost Trust all gave us grants toward the concert series. Go ahead. So I don't know if anyone has any questions or any suggestions or anything, but I just wanted to say it was another great summer and it was a fun time, and thank you. You know, it's definitely a lot of work from a lot of different people. You know, Chris, their department helps us a ton. We get a lot of support from a lot of different departments. So I just want to say thanks, and #play in Pontiac.
Well, Liz, you did a great job, as always, and it was well attended, every concert. I think 1,800 is probably a low number.
I think it's a low number, too.
Some of them were really, really well attended,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
We'll just look forward to next year now.
A couple quick plugs. There are some upcoming events at the Eagle. We have the Jungle Book. Vermilion Players Unified Production is coming up the 12th through the 15th of this month. We also have Vermilion Valley Show Choir on the 12th of November. Madrigals is going to be at the Eagle again, too. And we do have a concert booked in December. It's called Classical Blast, Dark Side of the Yule.
All right.
Yeah, so I just wanted to point those things out as well. All right.
I have one comment, Liz.
Yeah.
Great job.
Thank you.
I attended some of them, not all of them, but how do we get more people?
It's a good question.
We have, it is a nice crowd, but I wish we could get more people to come. Do you hear any comments about things we could do better, differently, more, things not to do?
Yeah, no, I spend time thinking about that, Kelly. So, you know, when we first started, we were on Thursdays, and I felt those were really, really well attended, but we got a lot of feedback that they wanted Saturdays, Fridays, weekends. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that that's necessarily the case because of the summer season. So I think I kind of want to look back at that and maybe take a look, and maybe it's the day. I'm not really for sure. But I think it's a great question.
Okay. I have no ideas. I'm just curious. So,
are you in charge of Block 59?
Sure.
Well, no, my question is, those 3 little buildings, any prospectors for rent those?
Yeah, you know what? We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Prescient, aren't I?
I would like to go ahead and introduce our new Main Street manager, Misty Bell.
segue.
Yeah. But did anybody else have any questions for me?
Yeah, just to Kelly's comment, the prior year that you had, can you look back at some of those concerts that you had and see not only the folks that came and played, some of them have a following. Mm-hmm. I know that you spent a lot of time looking at entertainment that has a following, but maybe there was something else that was going on that was, you can look at something that was maybe really successful and see if we can't replicate that next year, you know.
Sure.
You're doing that,
Yeah, I track year to year the attendance and stuff, so yeah. Okay, great. Thank you.
Here.
Thank you.
Misty, I guess that means you're up.
I feel kind of short here.
You are.
Hello. I know I'm here about a approval for an initiative, but I guess since it's my first time, I should introduce myself. I'm Misty Bell. I'm from the Logan County area. I spent some time down there working for tourism. I've sat on a Main Street board for 2 years as a vice president. I worked my way through tourism into probation, and then worked at Illinois State University in the last 7 months I've been in Texas. My daughter lives down there, and so and now I will soon to be a Pontiac resident as soon as I find a place that will take my 105-pound dog. So I also guess we'll go over kind of the first few weeks of my job. So Liz has been great, and I've been familiarizing myself with the town and tour of the community and some of the sites. I have started an extensive walk through the heart of Pontiac, meeting with so many business owners and employees as possible. It's nice to get to know firsthand why everyone loves Pontiac, because since I'm not from here, I wanted to know. And I've been able to hear firsthand what they're doing, how things are going for them. I will continue these rolling walkthroughs following meetings and events, because I want to hear how things impact them positively and negatively. We had our first Main Street huddle, and I set an intentional schedule with the huddles in the mornings, and we will have our panel meetings that will start in October. I gave you all a sheet showing when those will happen. My experience with Main Street in the past was if you weren't on the board or you weren't in a committee, you kind of were left out of the loop. And I don't want that to be the case. I think complete transparency is definitely necessary. Not everybody can commit to every panel meeting or huddle meeting, but they need to know what's going on and have an open door policy. So that is kind of how I plan things. And I'm taking all those meetings out into the businesses because I'm one person. I can come out to them instead of them having to come here for meetings. So I have started a weekly newsletter and have an email list so far of about 60 plus. I have sat in on the biweekly Illinois Main Street community calls. I completed the 3 supporting small businesses on Main Street live sessions, and recently started attending biweekly meetings with Jim Miller and Liz to prepare for the upcoming Illinois Main Street Conference that we'll have here in town. It's November 14th through the 16th. It's been 10 years since it's been here, and I think we're expecting about 200 people to attend, so I think that will be very nice for us. I also have sought out and had meetings with many people in town. Bob Carls, Deb Howard. I invited Amy Lambert from the Illinois SBDC. She came to Pontiac to discuss our Market 59, those shops. Would really like to start a business incubator program through those shops, so we are working on that as well. I met with Marlon Isles at the Happy Hedgehog because he has a business incubator, so I wanted to see how that was working. I'm on the agenda to give a live program at the Historical Society meeting on the 19th. If you'd all like to come, I will be there. And I plan on going through all the organizations to talk to all of them. And I also attended a DCEO Business Development Roadshow. So it's been very busy. What I'm here for today, though, is to ask for approval for a new addition to the holidays. Our design panel would like to add a Winterfest tree display throughout downtown in the flower pots, and some in Block 59. These 5 to 6 foot trees would be sponsored at $50 a piece by individuals, families, organizations, and businesses. They can be in honor of a lost loved one, just season's greetings from their family or from their organization or business. The sponsorship amount would cover all costs, with us providing the tree and the signage, and they would be responsible for decorating, securing the decorations. Any lighting they would like should be solar or battery powered, and we would have these showcased from November 25th through January 1st. We would ask sponsors to be responsible for the continual monitoring of their tree, and along with their timely removal of the decor. And then all trees would then be disposed of, preferably shredded by the city to be used as mulch. This type of initiative is what we need for Main Street because it brings feet on the sidewalk. People would be walking around downtown to see who sponsored things. This is kind of the sign we'd have, but it's about 4.5 inches. So yeah, this would just be one of the first things that we add to like a new Winterfest type of overflow onto the sidewalks in front of our buildings. Other things might come into play as window decorating and stuff, but again, those are things that the design panel will have to decide when we have a meeting. So yeah.
So they're live tree, they're like,
From a tree farm, yes, that's what they're, yeah.
okay.
Sounds like this is something you've done prior?
A community that I'm from has done this, yes. I think last year they had 125 trees.
Nice.
And they sold out of all of them, and it's a beautiful display.
So where would they be? Like, okay, you mentioned the flower pots.
Yes, we have approximately 60 of those when I walked.
Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
but I think that we would just this first year have at least 50. That would be our goal, to have 50 with 10 trees throughout Market 15 or Block 59. So it would kind of complement our holiday tree and all the other decorations over there. So
So what kind of tree is it?
it's like a 5-foot Christmas tree,
But
fir
is it
tree.
fir
I mean,
tree? Okay.
I'm a girl. It's a tree. I call it the tree farm.
Sounds
An
pretty.
evergreen of some sort.
Some sort, yes.
Sounds pretty aggressive. You think you can pull that off?
I do.
Yeah, 50 trees.
50 trees, I sure do. And I would not encourage my business owners to sponsor a tree right off the bat. I think that we would be able to get, I think we'll get families and organizations and maybe businesses that are not in the actual area to sponsor a tree. But there's going to be lots of things that downtown businesses are going to have to, unfortunately, put some money forth to, and this is not one of those. I don't feel like I would let them be the last ones to sponsor a tree. Let's get other people to get involved and help them bring the traffic downtown.
How tall is the tree?
5 to 6 feet.
Okay.
Sounds pretty good.
I love the concept of seeing it.
Yeah.
If you have that many trees, I
And I would love to
would
grow
do one.
to 125 trees.
Yeah.
You know, it's just going to take a couple of years, but this is the first step.
Excellent.
Do you think there will be objection to the fact that we're going to have so many trees that we're going to destroy?
I don't. I think that we're getting them from a tree farm that's going to have, that's what their business is, and we're going to, I would encourage shredding them for, the proper usage after the fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like it should be quite decorative and should draw a lot of attention. And the big thing would be, of course, is to keep the decorative aspect of it on through the whole season.
Yes, it is in the form that they should have to sort of monitor their tree and secure their decorations with wiring of some sort. And I think that also keeps them bringing people downtown to check their trees and stuff. So
this has been made public already?
no, it has not.
Okay, how soon do you plan to put forth?
I think
8
she's
o'clock
kinda waiting.
tonight.
Yeah, as soon as we say it's okay.
Yeah.
I think she's kind of waiting on that.
Immediately. In my plan, I do have my plan would be to just blast Facebook and the website and utilize all aspects. And again, I will start walking downtown tomorrow. It's the first of the month, and I will go business to business and not to get them to sponsor trees, but to let them know if it's approved and that this is what we're going to do, because they all have families and they're all talking to customers and they might know somebody that might want to sponsor a tree. I'm going to present it at the Historical Society when I talk to them about some other initiatives and some volunteer opportunities, and let them know that this is an option. And I just feel like I like to get my feet out there and talk to anyone I can see, so I think that will help. And we have lots of Facebook pages and stuff, and we will definitely be getting it out there.
Does the $50 fee cover just the cost of the tree, really, essentially?
It will cover the cost of the tree, and the transportation and the signs.
Okay.
Yes.
We're not trying to raise money for
Absolutely
anything.
not. We want to make sure all these initiatives, they'll pay for themselves.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yes.
I'll motion that we do it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Second.
Perfect.
I'll even fill out and have a tree.
Yes.
Love it. That was painless.
Sounds like you're getting a rousing start on the tree business.
Absolutely.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jerry.
All right. Thank y'all.
Roll call, please.
Thank you.
Jovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr.
Yes.
I was afraid we were going to have a tie vote. Good thing. Okay. Great job, Misty. And Missy is out on the street almost every day, so we see a lot of her. Okay. Moving on. Speaking of trees, we have the fall tree purchase program. Chris, you got a minute to
I do.
expound?
We would like to plant 48 trees this fall. It's about we average between 40 and 55 usually. We'd like to plant 48 at a cost of $10,550 from 2 nurseries that we work with, Spring Grove in Mazan and Gertis Wholesale in Harvard, Illinois. Both are good nurseries and have quality plants who we've been using for the last several years. Tree-wise, we're looking at maple varieties, linden, tulip tree, red oak, ginkgo, and some arborvitaes, some technique arborvitaes for a windbreak out at the dog park, to help with some of the high winds out there. So we're looking at about 10 of those to stick out on the other side of the parking lot to help knock some of that wind down. Okay. So till the other ones get some height to them. So we would seek permission to purchase those trees from those nurseries.
Chris, as a Tree City, I think we're required to spend a certain amount per year on planting trees.
So
Do you know what that amount is, or what the rules are to be a Tree City?
Sure. The guidelines for Tree City is you have to spend $2 per capita.
Okay.
So $2 per resident. And we usually can cover that just in our regular tree maintenance because we're allowed to charge use our labor and equipment as part of that.
Okay.
But we do have to account for how many trees we trim, how many we remove, how many we plant. So we do have to fill all that information out when we submit our annual report for the Tree City certification.
So we're really meeting that.
Oh, we're exceeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're at close to $12 per capita. I mean, figuring in our
Right. Good job.
might not quite be that high, but
Not in spending money, but good job.
There you go, okay. Any other questions?
Well, I don't have, I just have a suggestion for some areas. I have spent a considerable amount of time at the Recplex over the last summer and continuing now with football season, and we have a great need for more shade out there. There is tents popped up everywhere, every time there's events going on, because there is just very little shade around, particularly football field. But there's really not a lot over at the baseball diamonds either. Everybody's like huddling where they can find shade when it's hot and sunny out. So I'd like to see us up our efforts out there as much as we can. That's all. But I would motion that we accept Chris's recommendation.
I'll make a second.
Motion by Kelly, seconded by Jamie. Roll call, please.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw. Yes. Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini.
yes.
Thank you. Now we're coming up to change order. I see Brian's here and ready to go. Fire us up.
Yes, in your packet there, you see Opperman Construction has requested a change order for the concrete work that was bid this year. And I think that the information there on the back for your information, that they would request that change order from $46 to $50.08 per unit on the PCC 6-inch. And then also that project would get a completion date of November 1st this year.
That's pretty quick. Do you think that's feasible?
It is a little bit tight, I think, to get that amount of work, put that date forward, so I know they're gonna be working hard to get that done. They really don't wanna get blankets out for the cold weather concrete, so, I think they're gonna be pushing hard to get it done by then.
So are we spending more or less? I
It'll-
admit, I was so confused by reading this.
Right.
And I know numbers, but
It kind of depends how you look at it, but it'll be about $6,000 more than
okay.
when it's all said and done.
And the reason they want it, I mean, is there,
So it comes down to a way, when we put the plans together, there was a clerical error in the quantity, so they divided by the unit price.
sure,
And then we went through a whole process, and this has been something that Alan's worked on and we have worked on, and come to this agreement.
okay. So we haven't, did this impact any of the other bids that we would have been,
The bids were not close on this
Okay.
job.
Okay.
No.
okay.
Yeah, that was the first question I asked too, and it was a big spread between them and the
Okay.
next bidder. And, you know, this is a good resolution of a legitimate dispute. And I think it took a long time to get there, which is why the extension of the completion date. They had a right not to start work on this part until it was resolved.
Sure.
But it has been resolved and
It has
In a-
been, and it was,
a very fair manner.
and when we finally got to face-to-face meeting, it was very amicable, and we came to a solution fairly easily.
All right.
I'll motion acceptance of the change order.
Second. I'll make second.
All right, motion by Kelly, seconded by Mike Barr to accept the change order. Roll call, please.
Lee,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw.
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, we have ordinance for the second amendment to solar energy facility lease agreement.
Yeah, I can handle that.
And
We, you know, we've entered into the lease for, I think is this 1A, site 1A, yeah.
Yes.
And it's under construction right now, but because of the delays in getting the interconnect agreements and all the stuff that gets underway for construction, it was delayed enough where under the terms of the old lease, we were into the operating time frame, and obviously they're not operating. So the revision to the lease would peg rent payments and such to the date it really becomes operational, which is what most leases are anyway. Ours, I guess, is a little different because it has specific dates, but had no objection to that. They operate 1B already, and they are underway with 1A, that other 11-acre one. And this amendment simply makes it coincide better with the actual construction timetable.
Okay. Any discussion on this ordinance? It's just a continuation that we're going to have the process completed, so.
Just when will the construction finish then?
Into early next year, I think. I think they're expected to be operational midsummer, didn't they?
Yes, right, it was
Midsummer next year.
Yeah, that'd be my only question. Yeah.
July-ish.
But we were already, where under our original lease, they thought they'd be operational.
Yeah.
And beyond their control, they have to get regulatory approval for everything they do. And they're moving forward. We did get a report on the 2A, not 2A, 2A I guess is the one across, the little triangle across the interstate, and that's moving full steam ahead too. We'll be presented with more information on that in the not too distant future. We were already talking about next year, starting summer construction on that. And we were talking about whether we had the farmer planted or not. So that's moving forward too. And that was the, the last solar development plan for the airport and approved by the city so far.
Any other questions? If not, we need a motion to fire up Frank Giovanni of motions, seconded by Jason Lee. Roll call, please.
Hauser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to intergovernmental agreement. We have Jake up here to enlighten us on this aspect.
Good evening.
Fire away, Jake.
So our current NPDES permit from the Illinois EPA that allows us to operate the wastewater treatment plant, in that permit, we have Special Condition 20, which is the development of what we call a NARP, which is an acronym for Nutrient Assessment Reduction Plan. Now, when we received our permit a little over 2 years ago, this was a new component. This was a very new component for most municipalities around that are our size, something very new. And how the Illinois EPA came about requiring this NARP program is based on historical 10-year past of studying receiving streams, rivers, drainage ditches, creeks, anything that a major wastewater treatment facility discharges to. And we're considered they consider major facilities any facility that treats over 1 million gallons of wastewater a day. So when they did these biological surveys on these streams, they found that the streams that had a high risk of eutrophication, which is algae development, which can cause a reduction in dissolved oxygen levels, which can cause harmful effects on aquatic bacteria and fish and wildlife. They developed this NARP program to require dischargers like ourselves to look at our watershed and look and try to identify ways that we can reduce nutrient loading to the stream to reduce that potential for the oxygen depletion in the stream. So this was all done and issued to all these permit holders relatively in the same amount of time within a few years. So this is new to just about not everybody in our industry, but most facilities our size, a little bigger, a little smaller. So the first couple of years of our permit, communities and engineers were all discussing what this NARP program entails, what the EPA is wanting out of it, how as a community we go about developing a program that we know nothing about and really have no prior examples to base a new program on. So it's been a lot of talk of the industry for the last few years. Most communities have sought outside counsel to create this plan, mainly through engineering services, and that's an option. So I looked at our watershed and looked at who are our major contributors, and it's us and Streeter on our watershed to the two major facilities. So I reached out to Streeter about 6 months ago and asked them, hey, what are you doing with your NARP program? And vice versa. And so we had some discussions on it, and we had some discussions with IEPA on what they would like to see in it, what they were expecting. I'll try to get a little bit of direction on how to approach this. And so once we got a little more educated on all of that, Streeter ended up talking to some outside engineering firms and got a feel for what something like this would cost if we farmed it out to a consulting engineer. And between getting those numbers and talking to other communities, anywhere from $100,000 to $200,000 is a going rate for developing this program. So we talked amongst ourselves, and the city of Streeter's engineer, who has a little bit more of an environmental background, really believes he had a good grasp on how we could create this NARP program together. And after some discussions with the EPA, they were tailoring this requirement to do just that, to get communities to work together, to work with environmental groups, and to develop this. So they were more interested in us working together to create this rather than hiring an engineer services to do it for us. So we've got support talking to the EPA on working together to create this. Now, if I were to need to create this on my own, I really wouldn't know where to start on this. Again, Streeter's city engineer has got a little bit better of a background and a better understanding on this. So talking amongst ourselves, we said, let's split some of this up and create it together. Whereas they would be a little bit more responsible for actually putting the program together. We would be a little bit more responsible for submitting laboratory results from river testing, some future testing, but mainly the analytical data we've generated ourselves over the last few years. That, with the assistance of Livingston County Environmental Association, they have a lot of data they've been generating for years. So what we can supply and what they've already generated will more or less take care of the bulk of the data we need to include in this plan. So what we came up with was an intergovernmental agreement between City of Pontiac and the City of Streeter to create this NARP program. Our submittal is required by December 31st of 2024. Streeter's was required December of 2023. However, the EPA granted them a 1-year extension for them to be able to work with us to create this thing. So being as how their engineering department was going to be responsible for the bulk of the creation of this. In this intergovernmental agreement, we agreed on a not to exceed fee on our end of up to $10,000 for the hours and service they provide on putting this together. Just talking with the engineer, he said it'd probably be half that, but just as a safeguard, that would be not to exceed on our end to pay for those services. So again, after looking at all the alternatives to get this developed, I think this would be the most cost effective and probably the best for both parties, being able to work together and establish that relationship moving forward between our departments, creating this NARP together rather than just contracting it out. So with your permission, I wanted to move forward in this governmental agreement with Streeter, which will, the approval will be through ordinance number 2023-0-024 to develop this nutrient assessment reduction plan with the city of Streeter. I know that's probably a lot to take in, and again, it's one more avenue. The Illinois EPA and the US EPA are looking at impaired streams with low dissolved oxygen levels causing algae blooms, which algae blooms will eventually cause fish kills if the oxygen is depleted enough. So this is just one more tool in the toolbox to try to help reduce that and to get communities and environmental groups to work together to look at ways we can help. One of our biggest contributions to this NARP program will be to say, hey, we just spent $42 million building a treatment facility that reduces nitrogen and phosphorus, and we did it on our own, not being forced to by the Illinois EPA when we did it. We chose to do it as a preemptive measure when we went to upgrade a dilapidated facility. So that buys us a lot of credibility in this program anyway, the fact that we did that on our own. So the NARP program between us and the city of Streeter should be overly complicated compared to some of our larger communities who are undergoing the same requirement.
So one quick question. This nutrient loading into our wastewater system, is how much of that is runoff from farm fields outside the city?
My opinion is a substantial amount.
So what part does Livingston County play in this? Is there something you can...
That is what a lot of this NARPA entails, is we're not just looking at what we're putting in the river. We have to look at runoff. We have to look at any potential discharges into the river that are elevating those levels. So pretty much what this NARP is how to say this professionally, but it's kind of us doing all the homework for them to demonstrate that what we're doing isn't the bulk of the issue in the stream. We have to demonstrate, prove that we're not the biggest problem, and even if we're not, what can we do to try to help mitigate the levels in the stream? It's in some instances it's very far-fetched, because again, how can we have control over something that we have no control over as far as runoff goes? And that's why a lot of communities are scratching their heads on it. Some have even said they're not just flat out doing it, and they're going to see what happens on the next permit cycle. There's a lot of contention and a lot of questions between NPDES permit holders and US and Illinois EPA. However, what I'm seeing is everybody's starting to gravitate towards putting a NARP program together, and
No, I understand
assuming
that,
it'll satisfy them, but
no
it's
appeal to the county.
not yet. And this may be the first step for them to see what we're demonstrating, that we are doing the best we can for them to open up that door to non-point source. And that we don't have a definitive answer on what their long-term goal is. We know it's to improve stream conditions, but this mainly is just for us to demonstrate that we're doing all we can on our end to help stream conditions.
Once your report is finished and this is all set up and done, can we benefit from it through using it to help other communities like
Yes.
we did with our North?
Absolutely. And this will be kind of a benchmark on where to start moving forward, should there be more requirements and more stringent requirements on what we're putting back into the river and what we are required to monitor in our town. So this is pretty much the beginning of something that's probably going to be long-term as far as monitoring stream levels and demonstrating that we're doing all we can to keep those nutrient loadings down.
What does he mean by that? As Mr. Palm can create the bulk of a program, what do you mean by the bulk of the program? Nothing less than 100%?
Yes, like what he's going to create is the documentation and help to generate proposals and steps, what we can do to help. Again, I'm not really up to speed on exactly what the base of this NARP program is going to entail.
Does the EPA create the format?
No, nothing.
You have to create the format?
Yeah, and we don't know what the format is. Literally, it's every community in the state throwing a dart, assuming what we think is what they want. Like, that is why this is such a confusing.
And he's a guy that's familiar with that kind of thing.
He spent a year prior to me doing research, and I kicked this can down the road for 2 years because I was busy building a new facility, doing separation. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to do this. And once we started talking and had some conversation with the EPA, they said, just put something together. It's better than nothing, because we don't even know what we're looking for either. It's a very, very strange requirement in a permit, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen, and most of my colleagues have, because they're asking us to create something without giving us example of what they want.
So we're going to rely on Streeter to create that.
And myself.
And then
This is going to be together.
And then you're going to.
And we're going to come to
give
agreement
them
on
the
what we
data.
feel is, we're hoping what they want, and then
Yeah.
submit it. Same as every other community and most engineers are doing. This is
So our cost is $10,000 for their.
for the work, time, and effort they're going to put in creating this, with my approval every step of the way.
And if they're creating one and we're creating one, obviously they're going to
Well,
have similar data, which helps us to.
Right, we're using all of them, our data, their data, Barb's data, all that together. The NARP we're creating has both our names on it. It's not just for Pontiac and Streeter. We're doing this as a joint effort, which the EPA says is what they're after, because they want to see that we're working together with other players on our watershed, that we're not doing anything individual. That's the whole purpose of the NARP, is to get everybody talking and to get everybody working together on what can we do as multiple municipalities, dischargers, and environmental groups and environmental associations. Part of the requirement of this NARP is, if we don't have a local environmental association, we have to create our own. They want an environmental association involved in this NARP,
Well, we are.
and we have one. So that worked out great that we had
Well,
Livingston
we have
County.
years of data.
Right, but if the environmental
We've got
association didn't
really
exist,
long lists that are done.
us and Streeter would have to maintain our own individuals' accounts, but we'd have to create an environmental group and solicit people up and down the watershed to join this group and to create this group. But we're in a little better shape because we have an existing association that we can utilize to create this together.
So we're moving forward into new territory and undiscovered country,
Yes,
and going to come up with a plan to
exactly.
follow and create what the EPA doesn't know about.
Exactly.
Okay.
And between us and Streeter, we thought it'd be beneficial for both of us, rather than each of us spending $150,000 each. Having an engineer that's doing the same thing we're doing is guessing what they want, so.
Well, and
This is-
there's a deadline of December
2024.
2024.
Correct. So for the next,
Year.
14 months, we're gonna be working on this, and,
Yeah. Okay.
and we may find that we won't pay them anything, because
Yeah.
we ended up doing more than we thought as creating this, so this is just an if.
Yeah.
Or an up to and not to exceed should,
Well, it sounds like something that nobody's stepped into before, so
no, this is a learning curve for
I think
everyone involved.
we've had our experience that Jake has led us well into the expansions and all the other efforts that we've gotten into. So I think we should probably just go right ahead and see where this takes us. And we've worked well with Streeter on other projects too, so I don't see any reason to not go ahead and make sure that we are in the forefront. We do need a motion to do that, though.
I'll motion to approve it.
I'll second it.
Motion by Scott, seconded by Jerry. Roll call, please.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie,
Yes.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Echo,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser.
Yes.
Thank you, council.
Thanks, Jake.
And one thing I just forgot to highlight, they're taking the exact same request to their council on October 18th, so we're doing the same thing here.
All righty.
Thank you.
Thanks again.
Thanks, Jake.
Okay, moving on. Oh, some really interesting thing. Jim, first quarter financials.
First quarter financials, and I recognize we're in October. I want to preface this. Lauterbach and Amon, our financial contractors, they've been working diligently with bank reconciliations through the last year. They're done with those, and now they've gotten us these first quarter financials that you see in front of you. If you've had a chance to go through any of these, there really isn't too many things out of the ordinary for the first quarter. We seem to be running pretty much right on track with where we normally are. The general fund's revenues seem to be kind of in line with what we would have expected at this point, where if you see at the bottom of everything shows the percentages, and general funds about revenues is about 26%. We would have expected 25%. So, and the expenses are at 24%. So we're pretty much in line. I'm gonna. You guys can look through these, but I'm gonna just jump ahead to a couple places where I saw there was some things that may have caught your eye. The first one being in the street department, which is 013. And you would see that the 53% in equipment rental at this point, but if you remember, we paid Trost up front to do all that stump removal, so a lot of these things that are like really high are typically going to be those types of things that are either paid for it all up front. Some of the salaries you're going to see are part-time loading from the summer, and then they'll come down as the winter goes through. So. We did have in the fire department, you'll see in vehicle and repairs, we had a large vehicle repair. That's accounted for that 44% there. And education, those numbers are high. If you remember, we've had Jake a couple times talking about his new paramedics and all the training that has been going on. So we've had a number of staff training. In the police department, the really only thing there would have been education, and they've had a lot of transition as well, moving some detectives and some promotions that have happened, so there's been training that's gone on with that as well. And those numbers, aren't really, it's at 69% of 16,000, so it's not really a big number. The next one that I saw in the park fund, this is really just, in a couple of these other ones too, are just again, I this together, and so some of these were them doing the best they could. In some of our funds, park is one of them, so I'll just kind of explain this. In the general ledger, we list each of the parks individually, and so in those parks would be utilities, repairs, and what Lauterbach did, and typically if I would have done it, I would have went through each one of those parks, grabbed a utility and put it in utility. And so we would have to go line by line, and they did not. They grabbed category by category. So they created a line called Parks, and that's why you'll notice in Parks that there's a 0 FY24 budget. Those numbers, if you are going to split up between repairs and utilities. So that's why you'll see the utilities is at 0% because a lot of that is down there. So. And a couple other areas were just really accounting things. And as we move more into this relationship, this will probably evolve to recognize some of those easier. It will help get us some of these numbers a little quicker in the future. The other one that I saw that was a big, it stuck out was in unemployment liability, which is Fund 06. It's on page 14 of 41. You'll notice that workman's comp shows 0 budget item, but it's 62,000 was expended. Again, that was just Lauterbach. That is those are actually workman's comp premiums. So if you just drop those down, that's really where they're going to end up. And that, you'll see that there was no June, but later you'll find out in July there was a double, so it picked up again. But in the end, that really wasn't very unusual. And then just again, most of these are just anomalies that I picked up on page 18 of 41, which is the tourism fund. You'll notice the May personnel cost seems out of whack, and it's just an error in the ledger that part-time was placed, the end of the month part-time was placed in salaries rather than in part-time. So you'll notice part-time was low and salaries was high. So, oh, and then in like tourism fund, which is the next one, 19, page 19, you'd notice that we're at 38% in inventory in expenses, but if you go back up to the tourism fund revenues, that the Old City Hall sales is up 41%. So the more you sell, the more you need inventory. That's going to account for that. And the shops have done very well so far this year. And you would see that the golf course is going to be the same thing. It's going to be a high inventory, and it's going to be a high inventory expense. In Fund 19, which is TIF 1, which is page 21, the only number that sticks out there is the 45% on property acquisition. That was really a front load because we purchased the building, so that's why it's at 45%. So some of those are just, again, like once a year type things. The airport fund is Fund 25. That's on page 23. The only notes there that I made are in the revenues. You see quite a few zeros. The crop revenue, we get notification of that. That's a once a year we get, so that's going to be end loaded. And then the FBO revenues, we've gotten one of them, and there'll be more of those to come. So nothing else really sticks out. I had maybe one more. The ambulance fund is Fund 37. That's on page 31. You'll notice there's some high numbers in repairs there. We had once again, a large vehicle repair. And again, that's based off of a $12,000 budget. So it's a high number, but it, in the grand scheme of things, isn't that big of a number. So. If you were just looking at percentages, that might make you wonder. And then in the sewer is Fund 70. That's page 37. The things to note in that are down at the bottom, there's a 369%. That is department transfers. That right now is an accounting thing going on. That what we call transfers. Most of that money is money that was from the EPA loan that was placed into sewer fund and then transferred over to the Fund 71. So while I think in the past we just made the transfer, our accounting firm is calling it a transfer. So in the end, that money came in for the specific purpose of going out. So otherwise that, and otherwise on the majority of the rest of these, there wasn't really anything else in the first quarter that stuck out unless you've had a chance and have any questions. But they'll be here. We'll get these up as well so they're available. I think it actually should be available in the council packets that's online, so the public has access to that.
So Lauterbach will make a presentation?
What's that? They will, not on the first quarter. I'll probably be doing the quarterlies, but when we get them all caught up or when they get us all caught up, yes, they will be coming in and they'll be going through what they've done. And we've got a few other projects that we're going to try to work on to make some of this reporting a little bit quicker. But now that they've gotten this one done, that got them working on reconciliations from July, August, and September, and we'll see quarter two a little bit quicker than we saw this one.
And during this cleanup process, have they put their thumbs on anything that you see as uniquely helpful for the next quarter?
So like I said, I think one of the big things that's going to be uniquely helpful is their expertise and us moving more into some categorization of some of these funds rather than having to line by line a 700-page ledger. Because as we work through the budget, and I think what we're going to work toward is in our software, we'll be including the budget in, and they're going to help us run through all this by putting the actual numbers in the budget to where our software will just run this stuff rather than having to extract it and build it by hand. And so that's all one of the projects that we're looking at is moving to, whether it's moving to different software or right now I'm kind of leaning toward the software we have has an upgrade that's going to really assist us maybe in putting those together, as well as some upgrades in online paying for utilities, and even so when we take in like a permit fee, for example, they pay that. It goes, if you pay with a credit card, it goes into the general fund, and then we have to extract it from the general fund, put it, sorry, I said it wrong. It goes into the sewer fund. Right. We have to extract it from there, put it in the general fund, and all those ledger documentations have to be made. So Locus, I think, has a system that can also take other funds and divert them where they need to go from the very beginning into the general fund. So I think that will save staff and everyone a lot of time. So right now, when you come in and pay, the staff up front takes it, they record it, they give it, I get it at the end of the month, I record it in a ledger format, and then Fawn records it in
too many hands.
A lot of hands. And so we'll get a lot of those efficiencies worked out now that we've got the past going. And so again, it's just my last note on that is, as you notice, you haven't had or saw an audit yet. And once again, we're, as a lot of communities are, behind on that. And part of that was our bank reconciliations, getting all that caught up, which we are now. Phillips has all that information. They are working on the audit. And so as soon as that comes out, we'll have that information as well. So, but once again, I think this year has really been a big help in setting up next year and the years after. So
good work. Nice to see
well,
all the information.
And I got to tell you, I mean, not to make this sound like it was doomed, because it really wasn't. And you kind of asked if any other things stuck out. Bob's work in the past has been impeccable. I mean, no one has ever, I mean, Lauterbach, as they went through everything, their main things were just, hey, what is this, rather than this doesn't look right. No one has ever said anything hasn't looked right. It's been all fantastic. They just, they want to, as an accounting firm does, want to make things easier for them to grab data and just move it, whereas, you know,
get into the 21st century.
It has been a eye-opening experience for many people, and Jim has really taken on the brunt of it, but I think Lauterbach has been more helpful than even we thought they might be. So, moving on, mayor's comments. One of my comments is we have need for an executive session when we get done here. But there was a great dog show down at the Chautauqua Park.
Saw it.
And this last weekend, and I've been getting a lot of calls about ice rink, when we're going to get that in and do all this other stuff. And I says, typically when the weather gets a lot colder, we don't need to rush it. So things like that. The other thing is, I understand that the cemetery is in pretty good shape on their expansion and street or roads down there. So things are moving along. We have a lot of activity. I'd like to echo that Liz has done a fabulous job on the programs this summer, and Misty's been out on the street getting acquainted, and we're really looking forward to some of the new ideas that she's bringing out. City Council comments.
So the community Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
What's our plan? Anybody?
I don't mind. I'll feel that. So, as of right now, we've put out some information that we're looking for a tree, that if somebody should have one easily accessible, that's a tree that was scheduled to be, destroyed, that we'd be happy to take. In preparing ourselves in the event that doesn't happen, we've looked and we've priced them out around $1,500 to take possession of a tree. So,
Of a real tree?
of a real tree,
Okay.
correct? Yeah.
So that's our cost, even if, well, we have cost associated with getting it if we get
Right, I mean,
another tree.
labor cost, go and get it.
So, and I know at one time, many years ago, probably when we started Block 59, we considered the purchase of an artificial tree, and I believe it was an astronomical fee, if I remember correctly, but maybe Liz would remember that? Did we?
Go ahead.
No, you can. You actually priced it.
Right now you're looking in the $15,000 to $20,000 range
Mm-hmm.
for pre-lit artificial that just snaps together. It's a commercial
Yep.
tree.
And the
basically.
lights might not last very many
Right.
years, and so then we're buying another. So is it correct that we can't plant a tree there?
Oh, we could. Sure we could. It's just always been, if that's the use for the space and if it fits the landscaping, I guess has always been the discussion. We'd have to do some soil amendment, but.
Yeah.
So we could actually plant a tree and it would grow in that spot.
Well, I
would
offered
have
a
to plant
10-foot tree to move, remember the one down on John Street? But I ended up cutting down, but Bob said because the fill in there, nobody thought it would grow, maybe
Yeah.
they do it boring or something.
Well,
But it was
there's a lot of clay fill in there, which
Mm-hmm.
some of the other trees we've had to plant, we've had to excavate and
Yeah.
add soil. So some of the questions that have come up, the size, obviously anything we plant's not gonna be.
Oh, yeah, it wouldn't be very usable.
would
Well,
take,
it would
for the
take
next few years
several
anyway.
years.
And,
Where will the roots go when the tree does grow tall? That causes a lot of damage around the area.
I don't think so.
There's no perfect solution.
There's not.
There isn't, because, we all received that email about having maybe some of our creative population make a metal tree of some sort, whether it be,
From recycled materials.
yes, from recycled materials or whatever. So, and I'm not sure how to address that either.
Well, the public, it would be a non-traditional tree, and would the public really be willing to accept that? I don't know. I doubt it. But
Yeah.
Would we be willing to accept it would be a good question.
yeah,
Me
yeah,
as an individual, I like a real tree. It's
Yeah.
what I put in my house,
yeah.
Yeah.
it's what I like, but,
I get the
everybody's-
point, though, of trying to do something on a more permanent basis, because we are expending a lot of time and effort every year trying to find a tree to go there. And if we could get one to grow, that seems like the sensible thing
Yes.
to
Good
do.
solution and a good
Yeah.
long-term plan.
How big is that tree, Chris, that we usually get? How tall is the,
It's varied in height. We try to shoot for 20 feet. A tree about 20
so
feet tall.
could you transplant 20-foot trees, so it's already, I mean, they have the,
What is the biggest tree? you
That'd
can
be some
transplant?
expense.
Yeah,
To
but
find,
how's
number
that
one, to
compare to-
find one, and then to have someone spade it.
Mm-hmm.
That'd
Yeah.
take a pretty good sized tree spade to.
Yeah.
root
How
ball,
big
root
can
ball
you
would
use
have to
your-
be
And no guarantee it's gonna grow.
really
Big
big.
can you
Live.
use your spade?
Yeah.
Unless we treat the soil somehow.
It'd be hard for us. I mean, we don't even have a tree spade.
Don't have one.
For what we could reasonably plant there, how long would it take until it is 20 feet?
Well, okay, if you look at the trees that are at the chair factory right now, those arborvitaes there were planted, in the 90s? And they're 25 to 30 feet tall right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I planted blue spruce in '96 at the Zier place, and they're 20 foot.
Plant a real tree,
Get it in a
frame
location where it
structure
doesn't
around it,
interfere with the
larger
celebration,
structure
let it
that we can
grow.
Take down and put up until the tree grows into place, and just decorate that way. But that would work.
I think we can research the tree thing, finding a fast-growing tree, but it's still gonna be 15, 20 years before we get a 20, 25-foot tree.
Even a Scotch pine shall be
Yeah.
Gotta look at variety, different soil types, you're the tree guy, what would work there? Spruce or fir,
You'd have to
pine, Scotch pine?
You'd have to test the soil,
Yeah.
because any of those arborvitaes are picky on soil types, So we just have to see what we have, and we can amend it.
They're hard when they get snow and ice on arborvitae.
Probably
They
give
really
it
tear
to
down.
lightning about the time it gets to the right size.
And that was part of the talk too. Do you plant one and then, Mother Nature takes it out, or
Right.
What do you do? Is that where you always want to have your Christmas? That's all things we've
Right.
talked about over the years.
Do you want that permanent of a solution?
Right.
Also try to keep permanent fixtures off of lot 59, so that
Yeah.
space.
So it's been all the things we've talked about, so.
Now, the trees that we have gotten in the past have mainly been donations, correct?
They've been ones that folks were going to be cutting down anyway.
Or we get them from a
We pay
tree
attention.
farm, so it
We-
was
we've-
grown for that purpose
We've-
anyway.
We've gotten one from a tree farm. We've been fortunate enough to have.
Well, I'm glad that you are not going out in the woods and snatching trees out.
But some tree farms, they get overgrown trees that don't
Right.
sell,
Right.
especially to cut your own,
Right.
so.
Yeah.
Get an overgrown tree works for us.
I know that it's considered killing a tree, but the tree was planted as a commercial endeavor. The tree would not have been planted if it weren't for people who were going to purchase it.
Correct.
Well, it sounds like all the measures have been really discussed, maybe just not publicly. And so,
Well, we have a lot of concerns.
maybe
that's for
we
sure.
pursue the potential of a tree planting, but continue with what we have for now, I guess.
That's,
Yeah.
Yes.
that's the point we're at, so
Yep.
we'll go that way, yeah. Any other council comments? Mr. Wolford?
Just a couple. I think that hopefully will also help shake itself out as we have these committee meetings and kind of discuss that whole downtown, because that's how it all came up again too, as part of that plan.
Yeah.
My comments, the Illinois Main Street Conference, I think is going to be a really big deal, so I'm excited to have that to showcase the city, and it's going to be a nice addition to our downtown while they're here. On the tree initiative, I just wanted to tell Missy I appreciate all the work that she's done on that, and I can't help but to think, to see, if you remember that drone footage photo of the downtown when it's all lit up, imagining that with all these extra lights and trees down there, it's going to be beautiful. And then Jake, Jake does a fantastic job for us, and also I just thought it was a good time to note, I didn't want to interrupt. You guys had plenty of discussion on it, but the funding of that too, Jake, in addition to what he's done over the sewer plant, has done a lot of the safety manuals that we had budgeted to purchase. He's been able to do a lot of those and saved a lot of money that way. So in the end, this would actually be a $0 new expense for the partnership with Streeter. Otherwise, that's it.
Is there anything that the council needs to be involved with the Main Street Conference? I mean, do we have any?
That's a Liz question.
That's actually a good question. So as they're working to finalize the schedule, Tuesday night there will be some sort of an event. It would be great to have as many, of you there for that. We'll make sure and get you the information as soon as it's finalized. As far as the actual conference goes, there would be all day Wednesday. There would be different sessions, and then Wednesday night is an award ceremony. for the lieutenant governor. We're hoping that the lieutenant governor is actually, that she'll be able to make it this year. And then Tuesday, there's more sessions. So I think Misty just got the registration forms or the registration information today. So we would be happy to pass that along to council, and yeah, it would be great. Thanks, Kelly.
Okay. Public comments? No public comments, okay. As I say, we will need to have a motion to go to executive session. Motion by Frank, seconded by Kelly. Roll call, please.
Barr,
Yes.
Giovanini,
Yes.
Eckhoff,
Yes.
Lee,
Yes.
Cowser,
Yes.
Bradshaw,
Yes.
Cranford,
Yes.
Howard,
Yes.
Willie.
Yes.
Okay. Give it about 3-4 minutes and we'll go to executive session. Thank you.
Thank you guys, give me an A.
Okay, we're out of executive session. We're into open session. And
Make a motion.
have a motion to adjourn. We're done. Thank you.
1989 on
So are you finished at the golf course? Or are the girls?
Then I'm sure they're starting. So I'm guessing they didn't even play it through.